Hello, my dear children. Today I am going to tell you a wonderful story called Life of Pi. As I tell the story, I will also explain what we can learn from it. So, listen carefully and imagine the adventure in your mind. The story begins in India, where a boy named Pi Patel lived with his family. Pi was not an ordinary boy. His family owned a zoo filled with many animals such as zebras, monkeys, birds, and tigers. Pi loved watching animals because he wanted to understand how they lived and behaved. Children, have you ever visited a zoo? So imagine waking up every morning and seeing so many animals around you. That was Pi's life. One day, Pi's father taught him an important lesson. He showed Pi that even though animals may look friendly, wild animals are still dangerous. So, this teaches us something important. We should always respect the nature and the animals. So, loving animals is good, but we should also understand their behavior and be careful around them. As Pi grew older, his family decided to move to the Canada. They packed their belongings and loaded many zoo animals onto a large ship. Pi was excited because he was going to a new country. So children, think about how exciting it feels when you go on a trip or visit a new place. So Pi felt the same way. He dreamed about making new friends and starting a new life. For a few days, everything was wonderful. The ocean was calm, the sky was blue, and the journey seemed perfect. But sometimes life changes unexpectedly. One night, a terrible storm arrived, whose waves crashed against the ship. Thunder roared, lightning flashed, and the ship began to shake. Pi was frightened. Have you ever scared during a heavy rain or thunder? So imagine a storm much bigger than that in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, disaster struck. The ship started sinking. People ran everywhere trying to save themselves. In all the confusion, Pi found himself alone in a lifeboat floating on the ocean. So imagine being alone in the middle of the whole sea with no land in sight. Pi felt scared, sad, and confused. So, this part of the story teaches us that sometimes difficult situations happen without warning. We cannot always control what happens, but we can control how we respond. The next morning, Pi looked around and thought he was alone, but then he heard a growl. To his surprise, there was a huge Bengal tiger named Richard Parker in the lifeboat. Children, can you imagine sharing a tiny boat with a tiger? Pi was terrified. He knew that if he made one mistake, the tiger could attack him. Instead of giving up, Pi started thinking carefully. He used ropes and life jackets to build a small raft that floated beside the lifeboat. This allowed him to stay safe while remaining close enough to survive. Here is an important lesson. When we face a problem, we must not panic. We should stop, think, and find a solution. Pi did not waste time complaining. He focused on solving the problem. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Pi had to catch fish for food and collect rainwater to drink. Sometimes he was hungry, sometimes he was tired, sometimes he felt lonely. But every morning he decided to keep going. Children, when you find schoolwork difficult or when something does not go your way, remember Pi. So success often comes to people who keep trying even when things are hard. As the time passed, Pi learned more about Richard Parker. He realized that the tiger was also trying to survive. The tiger needed food and water just like he did. Pi trained the tiger to respect his space by using a whistle. Slowly, they learned to live together. This teaches us another lesson. So, understanding is often better than fear. When we learn more about someone or something, we can handle situations more wisely. While floating across the ocean, Pi saw many amazing things. He watched dolphins jumping through the waves. He saw flying fish glide around the water. At the night, he looked up and saw millions of stars shining brightly in the sky. Even during difficult times, there were moments of beauty. Children, this reminds us that even on bad days, there is always something good to notice. Maybe it is a kind friend, a beautiful sunset, or a happy memory. Of course, not every day was wonderful. There were storms, hunger, and loneliness. Pi missed his family very much. Sometimes he cried, sometimes he felt like giving up, but he never lost hope completely. Hope is like a small light in the darkness. Even when things seem impossible, hope helps us move forward one step at a time. So, after many months, Pi finally saw the land. Imagine how happy he felt. He had survived one of the most difficult journeys anyone could imagine. When the lifeboat reached the shore, Richard Parker stepped off and walked into the forest. The tiger never looked back. Pi felt sad because they had shared such a long journey together. Even though the tiger was dangerous, he had become an important part of Pi's survival story. Later, people rescued Pi and listened to his incredible adventure. Many were amazed that such a young boy had survived for so long. But Pi knew the secret. He survived because he stayed brave, kept hope alive, and never stopped trying. So, children, what can we learn from life of Pi? First, always be brave when facing challenges. Second, never give up even when things seem difficult. Third, respect animals and nature. Fourth, look for solutions instead of focusing on a problem. And finally, always keep hope in your heart, because hope can help you overcome even the biggest storms in your life. And that is the amazing story of life of Pi. A boy, a tiger, and an unforgettable journey across the ocean. Thank you for listening, and remember, courage plus hope can help you achieve the wonderful things. Thank you.